Hey everyone, Sleepy Reader here. Just wanted to quickly show you a haul of some stuff I grabbed out of a set of 50-cent boxes at the store closest to my house. Well, they're actually dollar boxes, but if you have a subscription box there, they become 50-cent boxes. And it's a mixed bag of stuff, and most of what I got was pretty junky and sexy condition or whatever, and not important comics, but just kind of interesting to me. So I thought I'd share some of those with you, some of these with you. First, I never knew this existed. Hanna-Barbera Super TV Heroes. Instead of TV superheroes, it's Super TV Heroes. And it's a bunch of short comics based on those old Hanna-Barbera TV shows that were so much like comics. I think with designs by Alex Toth, if I understand correctly, or some or all of the designs are by Alex Toth. So I think there was maybe 6 issues in this series, and this is issue number 4. You have to look on the inside to find that out. Another thing interesting on the inside, below the indica, is sort of like these weird, I don't know if the camera will focus very well, these weird character design things just put down at the bottom there. I don't know what that's about. So now that I know these exist, I think I would like to collect all 6 if I can find them relatively inexpensively. I kind of wonder who did these. This one almost looks to me like Jack Abel or something, if people remember who he was. And I don't know. I'm going to look closely and try and figure out who these artists were who did these. Yeah, so that I don't know. Silly things excite me. That excited me. Sort of interesting. I was a big fan of the Gil Kane Sword of the Atom, and I guess there was another miniseries of, I think, 3 issues, and this is issue 3, Sword of the Atom, by Jan. I never had it. Sternad. He was a collaborator at times with Gil Kane, and at times I think with Richard Corbin, amongst others. Anyway, filling Gil Kane's shoes this time is Pat Broderick, who is an okay artist, but not one I was ever a super fan of. But still, just because of the connection to another series I liked, I want to find all 3 of these. That's, for me, a lot of the fun of digging through these boxes is finding things that you forgot existed or didn't know existed. So this one is a Helix series, the science fiction branch of Vertigo at the time. This one called Brain Banks, and I think I already have some issues of this. I probably have 1 or 2 issues left to go. I don't think there was a lot. It's 1 of 6. So I bet I have 1 or 2 more issues I need to get of Brain Banks. Does it say who the creator? Elaine Lee, who was a very good sort of science fiction comic book writer of the 80s and 90s. I don't recognize the artist at all. But anyway, that's interesting. Oh, here's something that's very fun. I actually remember these when they first came out. I got black and white Xerox copies of probably issue 1 of Ray Bradbury Comics from Topps Comics to review for a science fiction magazine way back when. It must have been 92 or 93 or something like that. There's other dates on the covers. Anyway, so this may be the first time I've seen it in color. Plus, it wasn't this issue I reviewed. But they got the Neil Gaiman-ish, the Sandman-ish kind of cover and images, a note from Ray Bradbury, and then 2 stories. This one's called The City, and it has incredible illustrations from Mike Mignola. I love them. Very graphic in the sense of graphic design, I guess. And then the second story, unfortunately, does not have very exciting art, but looks to be quite interesting. I don't think I've ever read this Ray Bradbury story in its prose version. It's called Usher 2. And just from flipping through it, it looks like it has scenes from, or takeoffs from various Edgar Allan Poe stories. Like this one, obviously, is in part the Cask of Almatondo, or whatever that one was. That one where the guy seals the other guy off in a wine place. Oh, and there's the Pit and the Pendulum. So I'm kind of psyched to see this, and I'd forgotten all about the existence of these comics, even though I once wrote an article about them, or a few paragraphs anyway. So I want to hunt down all those. I think there was only 6 of these, or maybe only 4. A small number also. There's a lot of these, and just because they were cheap and there, I grabbed them. I think when Starslayer from First Comics and Mike Grell came out in the early 80s, I bought the first 3 or 4 issues and then stopped reading it. I don't remember why or what was going on in my life. I was definitely a Mike Grell fan. But already by issue 9, it is neither written nor drawn by Mike Grell. It's written by John Ostrander and penciled by Lenin Del Sol. And it's a far cry from Mike Grell art, unfortunately. And I think sometimes they had interesting backup stories, but it looks like this issue doesn't. Although it's got an interesting insert from this comic called Mars. And I remember they hyped this one a lot at the time. It was by Mike Wheatley and Mark Hempel. Was it a comic or was it a graphic novel? I can't remember. But then, interestingly, so I got 3 issues of Starslayer, and issue 10 claims to have the introducing Grimjack. So I guess the first appearance of Grimjack. I assume that's of no value to anybody except for Terrence Comic Crack. But really interesting art by Tim Truman, very different from what Tim Truman's art looked like later on, I think. Much more like a lot of speckles in it. So anyway, I have not read any Grimjack before, so it'll be great to start Grimjack from the beginning. Actually, maybe I have read some Grimjack, but I don't remember it. And then I've got Starslayer number 11. But it is disappointing that these aren't drawn by Mike Grell. Wonder if there's any Grimjack in here. That's why I'm going to open it right now. He's coming. These bags have got to go. There's just something kind of sad about these old yellowed bags. This should go in Mylar, I suppose. Then the bag will have cost almost as much as the comic. The art looks a little better, but still, I don't see the credits. But probably Austrian. Oh, there is more Grimjack at the back, so that's cool. Far, far superior art. It's funny when the backup here has, art of great effort, and then this quickie, fastly produced art at the front. Anyway. And then whenever I can grab them for 50 cents, I grab things like Marvel Age. It just seems fun to do. And I'm just for the Hembeck cartoon in the middle alone, I'm happy to have it. It has a kind of, I mean, it's been years since I've looked closely at a Marvel Age. It has kind of a sloppily put together look compared to what we're used to in, even semi-pro magazines about comics nowadays. There's a preview of a new Moon Knight at the time. I guess they were rebooting him once again. Yeah, so it's just fun to have these when you can get them really cheap. And so in the same vein, they actually had Marvel Age annuals. And this one's a flip book that has a pretend Marvel Age from 1963, which is intriguing. And that looks like a John Byrne cover, I'm thinking. I'm not sure. Or maybe not. Someone inked by Signat, but it's hard to tell. And I can't find a cover credit right away. And this just seems to have a hodgepodge of a lot of stuff from Marvel's history. I think it's a 25th anniversary kind of deal. Power Pack. Anyway, moving on. Sort of in the same vein of just old Marvel novelties that no one really cares about. The Impossible Man Summer Vacation Spectacular, 64 pages. And it's just a bunch of different stories about the Impossible Man meeting different characters of the Marvel Universe, done by different artists. I think this was the one somewhere in here. Is it? somewhere in here I think is early art by Greg Capullo. Yep, there it is. It's really kind of hard to tell that that's Greg Capullo art. I would have no idea. But that kind of thing tickles me to see someone's early work. And in more novelty Marvel stuff, which I guess was a replacement for Not Brand Ek, probably in the 80s. Or is this early 90s? So Pretty Wild Style, that's actually drawn by John Byrne. And apparently the Joker's in it. Yep, written and penciled by John Byrne, inks by Terry Austin, of all people. And then there's a whole bunch of other stories drawn by Hilary Barta, who really has that early Mad Magazine style down pat. That Wallywood, and there was another main artist that did those Mad Magazine spoofs in the very earliest Mad Magazine, where they were mostly spoofing other comics. And in one of my videos, I mentioned really liking The Badger. I had only 2 issues, so now I have 3 more issues of this obscure comic from the 80s about a guy who's crazy and thinks he's a superhero, basically. He may have some kind of superheroic powers, but I don't think so. But some supernatural things do sometimes happen around him. This is the second Badger cover I have where he's riding a buffalo. But now it looks like he's meeting Paul Bunyan, riding on his blue ox. Then 2 different series called World of Krypton. So this one, 1940 cents, was that the late 70s, early 80s? Has nice covers, but at this period in the insides, they were so in love with the caption boxes. It kind of, to me, it's not very readable, and it kind of ruins the art by covering it up with so many caption boxes. But I'll give it a read, and it might be really good. I am more and more into Superman when one can find good Superman. So that was the World of Krypton #1, and this is the World of Krypton #3. I think there's just 3 issues, or maybe there's 4. But then there was another World of Krypton that was produced by John Byrne. Here's issue 1. We took it out of the bag. My daughter and I are reading it. We're going to read it. It's actually written by John Byrne, art by Mike Mignola, and it's also amazing art, but doesn't look at all like that other Mike Mignola art. It's Mike Mignola before he became Mike Mignola. But he was still a very good artist, just in a different kind of style. So I'm really psyched about these, but I'm missing 1 issue. I've got 1, 2, and 4. That's a great cover. So, yeah, I'd like to see that. I guess this is like the World of Krypton after, a return to the idea of the World of Krypton after John Byrne had rebooted it. So you got the new designs of what Lara and Jor-El would have dressed like, as opposed to, here's Lara and Jor-El on the original. Very different. I grabbed a copy of Wolf #1 from Atlas Comics, the comic book company that lasted less than a year in like 1974 or whatever. I think I already have Wolf #1, but for a small amount of money, I thought I'd get it again. And then I got a bunch of the other new Teen Titans. I think it has the same title. Like there was a newsstand version and then another comic, not drawn by George Perez. Maybe I have it all confused and George Perez was already gone from the new Teen Titans. But I think they were concurrent. I don't know. But written by Marv Wolfman and art by Edward Barreto. And at first I was just grabbing some issues that I thought might contain enough Starfire fun for my daughter to enjoy. And then I just grabbed a bunch of them just because I like their covers. And maybe I will read these. So they're not consecutive, unfortunately. So, but I'm sure I can fill out more of this from other 50-cent bins. And then this very different cover, that's interesting. We got a naked raven coming out of the water, like a goddess, I suppose. And kind of anticlimactically, I've got the Transformers number 26 from Marvel. It's in very bad shape. It has this great cover by Herb Trimpe. Kind of maybe a transitionary style from when Herb Trimpe moved into his 90s style. This is like 1987 or something, but a little different from the older Herb Trimpe. Unfortunately, I was hoping it was Herb Trimpe on the inside. Unfortunately, the penciler on the inside is Don Perlin, infamously one of Marvel's least popular pencilers. He did the job, but nothing more, generally. Although, as has been pointed out to me by Jared Osborne, he did, or as Jared Osborne and I have discussed, he did do much better work at Valiant when he moved over to Valiant a few years after this comic was published. I don't know what... He already looks a little better here than I remember him being in, like when he did the Defenders and such. Oh yeah, and then we found a bunch of really beat up Archie comics from the 70s and perhaps late 60s. Betty and Veronica is of particular interest to us if it has the titles of female characters on the cover. That makes it much more interesting. And I don't know what the story is with Pep Comics. Is it just the Archie characters in another comic book? But anyway, so that was a fun little haul. I think everything I bought, I spent like $16 total. I actually went to the store just to buy some more comic book boxes because I need a lot more comic book boxes, it seems. Okay, guys, I'll talk to you all later. Bye-bye.